Uh-oh. I did it too early. No, we're starting now. Ah. Hey, Lara. Yeah, you're here at the start. How have you been? Hope you've been good. And anyone else? Maybe lurking. Hope you've been good too. I want to make sure everything works before we start messing about. Sometimes it does and sometimes it doesn't. Reassuring. So we start now on case 3 after we finished case 2 last time. Because we are the greatest detectives in the world. Adventure of the Runaway Room.
Glancing over my records of the late last century, I am faced by the events of a certain bitter winter. A murder in a carriage as it sped through dense London fog in the dead of night. Though the victim and the perpetrator were the only ones inside, there were multiple witnesses to the crime itself. However, none could have imagined at the time that such a seemingly obvious case as this would end in such a horrendous manner.
Ooh.
My friend, Mr. Herlock Sholmes, once said of the incident, "I believe that perhaps that case was indeed the prelude, the beginning of a long concerto that impressive Japanese student and I were to play together."
Talking about us.
Amazing. Is this really just a railway station?
Railway station or not, I've never seen such an enormous building before.
And look at all the steam locomotives. This country is incredible.
I feel like I'm dreaming.
So this is the capital of Great Britain.
So, where to?
Oh, hello.
Climb aboard. I'll take you wherever you want to go.
In that case, the Supreme Court in Whitehall, if you wouldn't mind.
My pleasure. I suppose you're visiting students from abroad, eh?
Yes.
Thought so. Well then,
I thought those guys were gonna mug us. For all the fancy hats.
And welcome to the centre of the world, Great Britain's mighty capital, London.
We're not that fancy yet. I wouldn't worry about that. British Supreme Court, Lord Chief Justice Office. What an incredible place. It's so imposing. It's almost suffocating. This place is breathtaking. Like a fortress. There's some stone buildings like this in Japan now, of course. They've only been built in a few short decades since we've opened our borders to the outside world. An authentic example like this is quite a different impact, wouldn't you agree? A far cry from the wood and paper of most of our buildings are A far cry from the wood and paper most of our buildings are constructed from. It's certainly unfamiliar. I wonder if there'll actually be space in Clotter for an office like that. We are in Big Ben. Oh no, we're not. We're in Whitehall. Supreme Court of Whitehall. I think we'll find out that the guy who works in here is probably the villain. What is this place again? This is the Lord Chief Justice Office, Naratoto-san, in the Supreme Court of Great Britain. The Lord Chief Justice. We had instructions to report here at this time. If circumstances were different, we were supposed to let the Lord Chief Justice know that we had arrived from Japan. But Kazuma can't. No. So instead, we are here in a different capacity. As envoys, report the news of Kazuma's death. Yes. Having delivered his or her message, an envoy's duty is done. So, we'd have to return to Japan. If we want to remain here in Great Britain, I have to take Kazuma's place as the law student selected for the study tour. Yes, which means you need the requisite qualifications as a lawyer, which is what I've been studying for. Here in Great Britain, it is the Lord Chief Justice who appoints lawyers. Well, that's the second reason why we're here. You have to have you officially recognized as a lawyer. The only way that we'll be able to remain here in London. Help him up to scratch. Good morning. Sorry for keeping you. What does he look like? Okay. Oh!
I trust you aren't exhausted after your long voyage from Japan. Seems I'm 1 hour, 12 minutes and 47 seconds late. My apologies.
Oh, no, don't mention it. We're never happier than when we're standing around with nothing much to do.
How fortunate. So, introductions. I am Male Strongheart, Lord Chief Justice of the British Empire.
And I feel like a little mouse under the elephant's foot. Come on, Mr. Naruhodo. Don't be a mouse. Oh, it's an honor to meet you, Lord Chief Justice Strongheart. I am Ryunosuke Naruhodo from the Empire of Japan.
Well, Mr. Naruhodo, Welcome to London, the capital of our glorious British Empire.
Ah, yes. Thank you. He looks like a villain. I'm sorry. He does look like a villain.
So, what are your impressions of our capital so far?
He really does, especially that title he has as well. There's going to be like some corrupt system in place, more than likely, that makes it very hard for lawyers. And it's going to be his doing. I can sense it.
So, what are your impressions of our capital so far? How do you like London?
Oh, help. I've been so nervous ever since we got here that I can't remember a single thing about the city. It's simply splendid, isn't it, Mr. Naruhodo?
Oh,
We had a wonderful view of some of London's streets from the carriage on the way here from the station. Everything is so impressive and grand. I must say, I'm almost lost for words.
I'm glad to hear you like it. City boasts tramways, piped water and gas, even cables supplying electricity. We spearhead every revolutionary new technology in the world. Every visitor to London is astounded.
Oh yes, astounded is the word. Thanks for saving me there, Suzuto. And everyone seems so jolly and full of vigor.
Yes. There's much excitement about the upcoming great exhibition here we will be hosting here in London.
Great exhibition?
Cultural and technological achievements from around the globe are to be exhibited here in our great city. It will be the greatest spectacle of its kind in history, and we will make Paris's World Fair look like a toy shop.
Gosh. I can hardly imagine how magnificent it's going to be.
Great Britain's capital city is nothing but magnificent. London is the centre of the modern world.
Even if you do say so yourself.
The sun will never set on our great empire. Perhaps it is fate that in these progressive times we welcome visitors from the land of the rising sun.
This guy's going to tire me out. Lord Chief Justice, I think you were expecting a student of law for this study tour, weren't you?
Absolutely. A Mr. Kazuma Asagore, my memory serves.
That's right.
The British government has already been telegraphed a full report of the situation. I understand the young man lost his life aboard the steamship bound for our shores.
That's amazing. The news reached him before even we could.
My country naturally extends its deepest condolences to yours.
Oh, thank you.
And you honored this appointment specifically to inform me of the news?
Yes. We are here in the capacity of envoys from Japan to report the sad news in person.
They tell me you Japanese are a people of protocol and courtesy. I see that it's true. And it is with some regret that I must inform you that the death of the young lawyer means the study tour arrangement can no longer proceed.
If you would, just hear us out, Lord Strongheart.
What do you have to say, madam?
It's about the study tour. Mr. Naruhodo here would like to make a proposal.
What do you now? Well, Mr. Naruhodo.
This is it then. The moment of truth. He's gonna say no. The thing is, Lord Strongheart, I was wondering if perhaps you would consider allowing the study tour to go ahead.
Don't misunderstand me. Britain would ideally like to see the tour go ahead. But without a lawyer from your country, there's nothing that can be done.
Well, in that case, what if there was somebody else? Another lawyer from Japan, I mean.
Is there something I don't know? Only a single lawyer was invited to Great Britain from your country.
He's going to stay on until you solve the case regarding the exhibition. More than likely.
And that was Mr. Ascoy. At least, that's what I've been led to understand.
Well, the thing is, this really isn't going well at all. I just can't seem to find the right words to say it. This man. Mr. Naruhodo. I could ruin things here if I'm not careful. What am I gonna say? If there's someone else here from Japan who could be described as a lawyer, it's... me? It's me. I can do it.
Is that so?
I mean, I don't actually have any qualifications as such, but...
No qualifications, you say? And yet you still claim to be a lawyer?
I have acted as a lawyer in court before. Only once, as it happens. And I had Kazuma to help me, and I was the accused, but glossing over the details. I've been spending every spare moment on the journey here to Great Britain studying. I've learned all about British law and court proceedings. While I'm on board the SS Berea.
The voyage from Japan is some 50 days, I believe. Not what you might call a full education. To become a qualified lawyer here in Britain, not only do you need a university degree in law, you must also complete several years of training.
I realize it's far too short a period of time, but I can't just go back to Japan. Because Mr. Ascoy's journey had only just begun. Coming here on this study tour was all he thought about. I have to carry on and do everything he planned to do. I know it must sound like I have an overly inflated opinion of myself, but I would do anything to prove that I have what it takes. Any test you care to set me. Just one chance. That's all I'm asking for. Please.
31 seconds.
Sorry?
Your opening statement there, Mr. Naruhodo. It was 31 seconds long. Not too brief, not too protracted. A perfectly judged appeal, I would say. Which is a skill that would stand you in good stead as a lawyer.
Oh, thanks.
So, you're willing to put those words to trial, are you? Well, I'm all for entertainment.
Huh?
But let me ask you one thing first, sir.
Yes?
You say you intend to do everything Mr. Ascoy planned to do? Are you firmly set on that path?
Well, yes, that's my intention.
I see.
Am I imagining things? Or did his expression just alter a fraction there? Alter a fraction there all of a sudden? What? Does that make sense? Or did his expression just alter a fraction there of all of a fraction there all of a sudden? Missing a comma.
Very well. You have your wish. I'll give you a chance. Test to become a specially certified lawyer. Whether you pass or fail is entirely down to you.
I think it's weird translation. And maybe it means change a little bit. I don't think the translation is brilliant. I think that's maybe the third time I've slipped up on a statement that doesn't seem right. Really? So, what form of the test? What form will the test take exactly?
Tell me, Mr. Naruhodo, what do you consider the role of a lawyer to be?
Well, defending people, of course.
Well said. So, let's have you defend someone. Hmm?
I'm sorry, give me a second. Whoops. Did the wrong thing. There we go.
Your timing is perfect, in fact. There's an apt trial about to begin later today. No advocate has been appointed for the defense as yet. So, this will be welcome news.
Today? I'm sorry, I've got to reply to this. There we go. Straight away?
If you manage to secure a verdict of not guilty, you'll have passed my test. What could be simpler? How do I get myself in these situations?
Well, could I ask what sort of trial this is, Lord Strongheart?
Yes, good question. Ah, I remember. It's a murder trial.
A murder?
An extremely simple case, I understand. You really can't lose.
That's easy to say.
But I should mention, just in case, if the defendant is found guilty, he will of course be sentenced to capital punishment.
Capital punishment? He'll be put to death?
Here in Great Britain, murderers are sent to the gallows without exception. Presumably, you read that much in your short sea-based introduction to British law.
We can't possibly agree to such a test. We would be toying with a man's life.
I am the Lord Chief Justice, and I've decided it's acceptable.
But you can't do that. Can you? To be fair, that's for the best. The only experience he has. Well, yes, before we learned that it was capital punishment.
There's no need to overcomplicate this. All you have to do is ensure that you don't lose.
So, the defendant may live or die depending on how well I perform in court. If I lose, he'll be hanged.
Mr. Naruhodo, you've come to me claiming to be a lawyer. You want me to take you seriously. You need to prove you're willing to do a lawyer's job. And you say you intend to see through the will of your compatriot, Mr. Ascore. I would like to understand just how far you're willing to go in order to make that happen.
He's testing my resolve.
What's the matter? You've fallen silent. I'm sorry, but the time is pressing. The trial begins shortly. I'll need an answer from you now. What is it to be?
What do I say? Do I agree to this absurd test? We're gonna have to, I think. Alright then. I have to give you a decision now. My answer is... Don't do it. I can't get the words out.
15 seconds.
It does seem fairly unethical to appoint him to be a defense lawyer in such a short time to prepare. Ah, trust me, that's just classic Ace Attorney.
Your decision-making needs work if you want to be a lawyer. That was too slow. So, it's as I suspected, is it?
Sorry?
You have noble intentions, but lack of resolve to see them through. The test is cancelled. Thank you for stopping by. Go and acquire your ticket for passage back to the east tomorrow. This conversation is over.
Yes, Lord Strongheart. Thank you for offering me a chance. Mr. Naruhodo. I'm sorry, Miss Suzuto, but what can I do? It's alright. I understand. You do? It's not an easy decision to choose whether to defend a man in these circumstances, but resolve has absolutely nothing to do with it.
What are you trying to say, madam?
I think what Miss Suzuto means is that no matter how badly I'd like to be recognized as a lawyer and staying here in Great Britain, to risk another man's life by treating his one and only chance in a trial so trivially would be utterly unforgivable. And I feel exactly the same way. I'm sure the defendant won't see this trial as a test, as some kind of experiment. A lawyer may fight for his clients in court day after day, but for each one of those clients, the particular day they stand in the dock may be the only chance they have to fight to prove they're innocent. No, I was wrong. I'm not qualified to do this job yet. I'm sorry for wasting your precious time, Lord Chief Justice.
Wait, Mr. Naruhodo.
Oh. Was there something else?
It's approximately 20 minutes by carriage to the Old Bailey from here. If you leave immediately, you should still be there in time.
But I just said that...
I was quite serious in what I told you. The defendant in this case has literally no one to advocate for him.
What?
At this point, he can't hope to find someone to represent him. Trial will begin without a defense. And if that happens, there's only one possible outcome. You'll receive the most severe sentence the judge can pass down.
But that's awful.
But that's the truth.
Why does it have to be like this?
Please don't expect an answer to every question. The cold hard truth of the matter is that there's only one person now with a chance to save this man from a very miserable end. And that is you.
I'm really his only hope?
So, what do you say now, madam?
Me? What do you mean, Lord Strongheart?
You said it wasn't an easy decision to choose whether to defend a man in these circumstances. And I agree. But in my estimation, it is purely and simply a matter of resolve.
Oh.
Our time is up here. I have a meeting to attend. I must leave you in 2 minutes and 16 seconds. So, venture into our great city and enjoy yourselves.
He's gone. The Old Bailey. If we're going to do this, Mr. Naruhodo, we must leave at once. The the Old Bailey. Ah, keep locking thing. There we go. Hey guys! Ooh! The Old Bailey. Defendant's Antechamber. Look at the old bobbies in the background. How are you doing today? Oh, thank goodness we're in time. There's still 15 minutes until the trial begins. I never knew a horse-drawn carriage could go so fast. Oh, my teeth were gonna rattle loose. Did you hear what I said to the driver when we climbed the board? Get us to our destination in 5 minutes, driver, and there's a guinea in it for you. Guinea? It's one of my favourite lines from the Sherlock Holmes stories. And it worked quite perfectly. I'm not sure why you're so pleased. I thought we were going to die. And we had to pay gold for the privilege. Well, at least we arrived here before the trial started. You're doing pretty good, I'm glad. Yes, I suppose there's that. Anyway, I don't understand it. The court clerk said the defendant should be here, but there's no sign of him at all. Is it Sherlock Holmes? So, this is the Old Bailey. Even this room for defendants is... the waiting is grand. Are you alright, Mr. Naruhodo? I'm feeling tense, that's all. This place gives me the same sense of foreboding that I remember during the Supreme Court of Japan. An oppressive air. Almost as if the building itself is going to crush whoever's about to be sentenced. It was like only yesterday that I was the one about to be crushed. Yes. Whoever the man you're trying to defend is, I imagine he's feeling very alone at this moment. Top the morning to you, madam. Sir. What are you doing following me here? Things are feeling desperate, aren't they? Sorry? Would you look at the expressions on you? Would you look at those expressionless faces? From the east, are yous? We're from Japan, yes. Ah, Japan is it? Right, say no more. Say, how much do you need? No, we're just here because... No need to explain, fella. I've been there myself, so I have. That's an appropriately fancy hat. It can only get fancier from here. No place to go, nothing to eat, barely a penny to your name. I don't know why you strange foreign land. Well, actually, we haven't found a place to stay yet. No. 'Tis gone, 'tis gone. Let me start by giving you 1,000 guineas. They nothing now. 1,000? How do you pronounce this word? Guineas? Guineas? I'm not sure. 1,000 guineas? What is it? Guineas? Guineas? I don't know. We're gonna Google Translate it really quick.
What language should I translate to?
Please stop. This will tell us how to translate properly. You know, and not trigger a home device. So how are you spelling that? G-U-I-N. G-U-I-N. E-A-S.
Guineas.
Guineas. I was right. Kind of like a guinea pig. I thought so. It was either guineas or it was guineas. And guineas doesn't sound right. Let's get that off the screen. 1,000 guineas? Please, Miss Suzuto, you don't have to shout. But 1,000 guineas is enough to build an entire mansion in the most prestigious area of Tokyo. What?
There's nothing to me at all. I like to ensure I have sufficient funds to wear a rainy day, you see. I have enough wealth to buy a city in London 2 or 3 times over.
Did that much rain even fall in one day? Well, even so, we couldn't possibly accept such a large sum of money. I mean,
Don't get me wrong, fella. I'm not giving to you no things attached. I be wanting you to do something for me.
Oh?
To be honest, it's a little embarrassing. The trial's about to begin, you see. It's for me, good self here. I'll be in the dock. So now, what I want you to do is come along with me and stand there beside me. Officially, you'd be my lawyer, but that's just a little detail now.
Oh. Well, the thing is...
Don't worry about a thing. All you have to do is stand up there next to me. Nothing more. Otherwise, you see, the trial's gonna start with me any kind of representation at all.
That was true. Or Chief Justice wasn't just making it up. I'm terribly sorry to have to ask, but does that mean you're the defendant in this trial?
Bluster and blazes, do yous not know who I am? Me. One of London's biggest names.
No, sorry. We've only just arrived in the city, you see.
I see. I suppose it isn't altogether impossible. Well, just next to Hyde Park there in the centre of London is another beautiful park.
Sorry, a park... What?
It's called McGill Park. All the blossoming flowers. In the spring they send birds and whatnot. I donated it to the city, so I did.
An entire entire park? In central London?
A city of smiles is me vision for London. There's nothing McGanner's McGild wouldn't do for the city, and it's queer old people.
That's amazing. I mean, really extraordinary.
Ah, but now they go to say I'm a good-for-nothing criminal. Me, Magnus McGild. What's the matter with the London police, I ask you?
Alright, don't pass out. Mr. Naruhodo, perhaps now would be a good time to introduce ourselves while the gentleman catches his breath. Good idea. Mr. McGild, the thing is, we're actually here in London to study the British law. We're law students. On the study tour from Japan, you see. So, if you don't have a lawyer for the trial yet, and you'd be happy to put yourself in our hands, we'd do our best.
What was I after saying, you daft idiot? I'm getting you 1,000 guineas to stand out there next to me, aren't I?
Oh, yes, but I wasn't really offering to just stand there next to you.
Oh, I think I see what's going on here.
Sorry?
I know what you're thinking. This Chancellor fellow here claims to have more money than the Queen. But if that's true, why the blazes carry out a forest law in England? Because he did it. That's the only explanation. Well?
Well? No, it's my provocation as a lawyer. It's a little concerning that she would have to ask that. Oh, sorry, what was she asking? He's the defendant. Oh, yeah. I mean, he's the only person in here. Going off the other games, he's gonna only lash out at us if we say no. To hold up the integrity of the character, I'm gonna say no. Not at all. One second, I'm hearing sounds. Something's making a sound. It's very concerning. That was a little strange. Like a buzzing sound. Oh, not at all. Although it's a little strange, to be honest. Why don't you have a lawyer? I mean...
That'd be the fault of the Reaper.
Sorry? You just say Reaper?
Aye, the Grim Reaper of the Bailey, Lord Barak van Six, or Zykes, is the prosecutor.
The prosecutor is the Grim Reaper?
When Van Zykes stands in the prosecution, they call the accused the sacrificial lambs. And to this day, in every single trial in which he's been prosecuted, the accused been damned.
So, it reached a desperate situation. I'm not even in the same accent anymore.
Whether it be no unwilling stand in defense against the fella at all, you could say he's been living a legend. He's a living legend of the Old Bailey.
Goodness, Lord Baron von Zykes? I think it's Zykes. He must be an exceptionally talented prosecutor then.
Talented isn't the word I'd be looking. Talent isn't a word you're looking for, madam. It's cursed.
Cursed? What on earth?
The defendant is summoned, and his counsel. Chop chop. Make your way into the courtroom. Trial is about to begin.
His counsel? Oh, that'd be me.
Oh, 'tis time. Well then, fella, don't let me down.
But I don't know anything about this case. You haven't told me what happened.
Until you showed your face here, I'd made up my mind, so I had.
Sorry?
I had decided.
Aha! I found you. You fiend. There he is on the wall. You menace. Away with you. Excuse me a moment while I deal with this menace. Apologies, I had a bug. I had to shoo out. The cheeky little thing. I decided I would defend myself in there. How would that have worked? But then you made an appearance, still no lore, wouldn't you know? There's no accident. I can assure you of that. 'Tis fate. That can happen. Don't get cold feet now. Please. We're defending this guy. Again, we have no introduction to this case at all. I literally know nothing about the case or this man who stands accused. In fact, the only thing I do know is that I can't just turn my back on him now. Mr. Naruhodo, the man has no one. He'll have to stand alone on that courtroom, armed with nothing to defend himself. Yes. Something that Kazuma would have never allowed to happen.
Counsel for the defense. What are you doing? If you're late for the start of the trial, you will lose your right to stand.
I'll be right there. We're in courtroom battles again. It's happening then. My first trial in a British court. Hope you're watching over me, Kazuma. Because I have no idea how I'm going to manage this. Oh, he has no idea. Ooh, courtroom. The Old Bailey courtroom. So in this is the highest court in Great Britain, the Old Bailey. The centuries of history of this place must... The centuries of history in this place is palpable, isn't it? It's so different to the Supreme Court of Japan. It feels both imposing and serene at the same time. The atmosphere almost makes words redundant. Whenever the country, determining a person's guilt or innocence is always a solemn affair. May I say something, Mr. Naruhodo? Oh, yes. What? We're awkward again. Your eyes look ready to pop out of your head again. I know, but I can't help it. Santa?
In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session. We are here today to determine the guilt or innocence of Mr. Magnus McGild. Gilded? I now call upon the counsels for the prosecution and defense to declare their willingness to proceed. The prosecution is fully ready.
I don't know whether to give this guy a vampire accent or not. Let's look at the guy. I'll give him the fanciest British voice I can give him.
The prosecution is fully prepared.
That must be the Reaper of the Bailey. He really does look fully prepared to dispatch his next poor victim to the underworld.
Counsel for the defense. You appear to be Eastern. You speak English?
Long vampire. And then Van Sight. The long vampire style cloak as well. He's just Dracula. We know we're gonna have a case where some people are getting blood sucked out of him, and he's gonna be on the prosecution stand. Huh? Oh, yes, of course. Sorry. But he asked if the defense was ready. And it wouldn't be far from ready if I tried.
Those eyes please me. Nip upon it.
This is the voice I'm giving him. Very smooth, but still quite deep.
They shroud your fear, your doubt, trepidation. They run wild, clinging to some phantom notion of courage. The quintessential look of a sacrificial lamb.
Cold shiver just ran down my spine all the way to the tip of my toes.
Now, Mr. McGilded. Yes, my lord. You stand accused of murder, a capital offense. You could be sent to the gallows if found guilty. Are you quite sure you wish to entrust your defense to this foreigner? As I've always said, my lord, it's a grand thing to give opportunities to the young. Even if the fella is a student from some little island off in the Far East. It's not the British way to ignore the dangers you save and give the less fortunate a fair chance. I'd like to think the acts of chivalry do the great British Empire proud.
What a fine gentleman. It seems as though everyone in the public gallery is firmly behind Mr. McGilded. That's definitely welcome news. And he certainly has a way with his words. I'm surprised he couldn't convince anyone to defend him.
Eloquently put, Mr. McGilded. And most laudable sentiments. Now, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I'm sure I need hardly remind you that you 6 members of the public have been selected for your impartiality. Are you ready to proceed?
Oh, there's 6 people's advice.
Yes, my lord. If the task is to send Royce to the gallows, where they belong, I'm more than ready.
At the manor, his lordship always says we should dispose of rubbish promptly. Naturally, I agree.
Ha! Any criminals here will be soon be wishing they never set eyes on me. I feel a chill.
Oh, don't mind me, dears. I'll just be getting on with my knitting. Must finish these mitts for my grandson. Ah, Mr. Naruhodo. Those people are the jury. Yes, that's something we don't have in Japan yet. The first 3 hardly sound impartial. Oh, you know they're all gonna side guilty straight away. they'll need some convincing to come to my side. And then we're gonna convince one of them, and it's gonna knock the other one of the other ones the other way. It's weird. I've not seen this system yet, so I'm really interested in this. That's right. I've only ever read about it. But here in Great Britain, the court's final verdict depends on the opinion of these 6 jurors. The judge passes the sentence according to the law, but the jurors determine the guilt based on common sense. So the defendant is ultimately judged from 2 completely different points of view. But how exactly do the jurors give their verdict? That I don't know, but I'm sure it will become clear as the trial progresses. Yes, as the trial progresses.
Prosecutor Van Zykes?
I'm gonna call him Van Zykes, even though it could be wrong.
Prosecutor Van Zykes. My lord. It's been a number of years since we've seen you here in the courtroom. I thought you'd renounce your fame. I'm known as the Reaper of the Bailey. Infamy rather than fame, I would say. But yes, 5 years have passed since I last spread my wings in this capacity. So, what brings you back? Is there some change of circumstance of which the court should be aware? I leave that to your imagination, my lord.
The Reaper has been out of action for 5 years? Why did he have to choose today of all days to make a comeback? Don't lose heart, Mr. Naruhodo.
As you wish, sir. The court nevertheless welcomes your return. Now then, opening statements, I think. A summary of the case, if you please. Certainly, my lord. As your lordship is aware, this is a case of overwhelming simplicity.
Must be on one of the... We must be the only ones here who aren't aware.
The incident took place in the late evening, 3 days past. The hour was some minutes after 10. The victim was a maker of building bricks known in the community as Ice Fried Mason.
Sorry. Rice?
He was a very accomplished craftsman. The bricks he fried were said to be almost indestructible. The victim's corpse... The victim's corpse was discovered in an omnibus in service on the streets of London at that time. Dagger had been thrust into the victim's abdomen, is believed to be the ultimate cause of death. Here's the autopsy from the investigating medical officer at Scotland Yard. Thank you, counsel. I shall accept that and the photograph as evidence.
We've got a photograph now.
And one further item of evidence. Prosecution wishes to submit these as well. And these are... Good lord! Is that blood, Counsel. Yes, my lord. Seized by a policeman who had arrived at the scene.
He's been drinking from hands.
These gore-soaked gloves were taken hands of the accused when he was arrested.
What? Mr. Gilded's gloves have blood on them?
Yes, I will accept these as evidence as well.
How did I get into this? I'm backed into a corner before I've even started.
Continuing. According to the driver of the omnibus, there were only 2 passengers travelling inside his vehicle at the time.
Only 2?
Obviously, one of these passengers was the deceased brickmaker, Mr. Mason. The other was the accused, Magnus McGilden. Well, rather damning circumstance to say the least. Defendant, what say you?
Well, of course, I got no recollection of such a thing. Mr. McGilded! To be sure, I rode the omnibus that evening, but whenever I'm in the carriage, I'm taken with a fierce tiredness, and I always succumb to it.
Are you claiming to have been asleep?
'Tis the motion of the carriage, my lord. Little so it is. And when I opened my eyes again, there was a desperate sight before me. Body of a man. I'd never laid eyes on him before in my life. Now I ask yous, what good-hearted soul wouldn't rush in to help bleeding from his stomach? I wasn't about to start worrying about my gloves now, was I? Reaching out to give a man a hand. So the blood got onto his gloves then, after the man had been killed?
Unfortunately, that statement of the drivers is only the beginning.
What? Not all of it?
There were multiple witnesses to the precise moment at which the bricklayer was fatally stabbed.
I think we're gonna hear that a lot this turn.
Order! 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 When the killing took place, only the victim and the accused were inside the carriage, and there were witnesses to the crime. This is not just a case of compelling evidence. It's the nail in the coffin. Thank you, counsel. The circumstances of the crime have been made quite clear. I think we will hear the testimony from the witnesses first of all. Your wish is my command. Bailiff, bring in the witness at once.
I'm gonna give him this Dracula voice instead. I think this fits way better.
Witnesses, your name and occupations.
My name is, well, everyone calls me Beebo. I drive the omnibus in the Far East.
Bruce Fairplay, I'm banker in the city.
My name's First. Lady First. I make hats for gents.
Let us begin by confirming the facts. 3 days ago, at short time after 10 o'clock in the evening, All you present in the stand were in an omnibus and witness to therefore aforementioned incident. Is that correct?
You've got your wish of fancy hats, Alira.
Yes, sir. Quite right. Yes, that's right, sir. Very well then. Let us proceed to formal testimonies then. Each of you will tell the court precisely what you saw. It was the last bus of the evening. I was as far I did have few customers. I remember it well. The victim and the man killing him were sat next to each other inside the bus. Then out of the blue, the accused reached over and plunged the knife right into his guts. That's right. I stabbed him. I screamed. I did. I couldn't help it. As soon as I heard the scream, I stopped my bus. And then I saw it too.
I know they're not stuttering, but I want to make the illusion that he's cold. I wonder what animal is under the third guy's hat. We will soon find out. Unambiguous testimony, I must say.
Exactly, my lord. These men witnessed the incident in the omnibus with their own eyes.
I'd like to ask a question, if I may.
Yes, counsel.
Well, this testimony makes absolutely no sense to me whatsoever.
Why not?
Well, the incident took place inside a moving carriage, didn't it?
As has been clearly stated from the onset, yes.
Well, in that case, how could those two witnesses possibly have seen what was happening? There's no way they could have seen inside the moving carriage. These guys know more than we do.
How quaint. I'd read that civilization in the Eastern Island nations good century behind our own. But you're here in London yourself. Are you really ignorant about our omnibuses? Huh? Tell me, my Nipotese friend. Have you ever travelled in an omnibus?
Well, no. We only arrived in London this morning.
No matter. I've arranged for us all to see it ourselves, the actual scene of the crime it is.
What? What do you mean? Actual scene? How?
A carriage is designed to be moved after all. Presumably you understand that much.
Yes.
The omnibus in which this bloody crime took place is here today. In this very building.
Here? What? The entire carriage?
Bailiff, bring forth the stricken omnibus.
I feel like I'm mixing this guy and the judge up. Oh, that's an omnibus. The omnibus. I can't believe they could bring something so enormous in here. Great Britain's courtrooms are amazing.
As you can see, the omnibus is pulled by 2 horses and can carry up to 8 passengers. 4 passengers seated inside in the enclosed cabin, and another 4 on top on the roof decked above. Every Londoner knows that the best views of the city's architecture and sights are to be had from the top of an omnibus. And I should point out to our foreign guests that there's a skylight in the roof, allowing a view of the interior from the seats above. Ah, a skylight. The penny drops at last, I see. These 2 gentlemen were occupying the rooftop seats of the omnibus when the murder took place. That's how they came to witness the grim incident. Through the skylight.
That makes perfect sense.
Well, Counsel, this is a first. In all my years behind the bench, I've never experienced the crime scene itself being brought into the courtroom. There are numerous important clues remaining inside the carriage, my lord. I would like to submit the omnibus itself as evidence. That is the prosecution's wish. Very well. I see no reason why not. The omnibus is hereby formally accepted as evidence.
I can't believe it. The entire crime scene entered as evidence. Yes, Great Britain is simply extraordinary. I couldn't help myself a lot by giving the omnibus a thorough examination, seeing as it's here.
Let us continue with proceedings then. Your cross-examination, counsel. Pray, do not expect this nippity stray to understand the intricacies of a British court cross-examination rights.
Alright. My first cross-examination in a British court. Here we go. Focus, Rainusuke. Focus! Okay, that one doesn't look like it's going to be useful to press. Actually, no, maybe. Hold it. Yes, I think it was sometime after 10, wasn't it?
Oh yes, that's right, yes. Ever so cold. It was freezing, in fact.
And you had 4 passengers on board at the time, correct?
Yes, that's right. Not traveling at all in the same part of the bus, but of course, no. And there were no other passengers when the incident took place. No one alighted, for instance. Quite right with that, sir. No other passengers like that. No, none.
So, no one fled the scene of the crime then?
I have to say that the bus insisted on it running. He does. Every evening, the last bus of the day. But I wonder sometimes if it's altogether worthwhile. Yes, sorry to say.
What do you mean by that?
with it being so cold and everything, only making 20 pence on the run, you see. Yes, I spent that much at the pub on the way home, just trying to warm up again. £20 at the pub.
Hold it!
And you saw them through the skylight and the roof of the carriage?
That's right. When you sit up on the top deck, the window's right there at your feet. There was a lamp on the inside, so I had a pretty good view. The two of them were wearing hats. Couldn't exactly make out their faces. There's not a shed of doubt in my mind it was Mr. McGilded.
How can you be so sure?
Well, how can I put it politely? Mr. McGill is a gentleman of rather small stature. I couldn't have mistaken him for anyone else. Let us not forget that when the vehicle came to a halt, the only people inside the cabin were the deceased Mr. Mason and Mr. McGilded. There's no room for doubt here.
I really wish there was.
Then, out of the blue, the accused just reached over and plunged a knife right into his guts.
Hold it!
You actually saw the exact moment it happened.
Didn't I already testify to that? Or are the fair dinkum hard-working city bankers not considered trustworthy these days?
They most certainly are not. Oh, no, I didn't mean that. This is no good. I've really got his back up. Perhaps you could tell us what you saw in a... My lord.
Error number 3. What is the meaning of this? My mind is made up, my lord. Completely and utterly made up.
Made up about what?
I don't like the stinking rich. Never have. Always up to something. And other that they shouldn't be. Every one of them. And that little leprechaun of a man is no exception. Well, it can't fool me.
Oh, that's not good. There's no point wasting my time listening to any more of this.
That's my opinion on the matter, anyway. That is precisely what I was about to say. As the foreman of the jury, it is my duty to set a good example to my fellow jurors.
What is happening here? Let me see. Ah, yes. It seems that's how members of the jury give their verdicts. With fire? Apparently, yes. White for innocent, black for guilty. As the 6 members of the jury make up their minds about the case, one by one, they each cast a bowl of fire into the great scales of justice, as we saw a moment ago. So, if these enormous scales fall completely to the black side, what does that mean? Let's do our very best to ensure that doesn't happen. I'm even more worried than I was before.
Very well. The court acknowledges the change in the jury's stance. Counsel for the defense, please continue with your cross-examination.
This is a nightmare. That's right. He stabbed him. I screamed I did. I couldn't help it.
Hold it!
Hold it. He stabbed him, you say? And you were sitting up on the roof deck, were you? That's right, sir. I was up on the roof seats. I remember that little gent sitting next to the fellow. He was stabbed. I've been thinking about a new hat design. You see, I've been thinking about a new hat design, you see. So I was just gazing absently minded around. But then it happened. I happened to look down through the skylight. It was sticking right out from his belly. That huge great knife.
A grim sight indeed.
That didn't help me at all. Jury looked like they're even more convinced my client did it than they were before. That appears to have made everyone even more dubious of that Mr. McGilded is telling the truth. Only we have some evidence to counter their suspicion.
Mr. First.
Oh, yes, sir?
Is this the knife you saw?
Oh, good grief, yes, that is the very one, sir. Is that?
Yes, counsel. This is the blade which was driven from the victim's belly like a stake through the heart. That is the blade of considerable size, counsel. It is, and furthermore, the scabbard is emblazoned prominently with a certain initial, the letter M, which seems oddly familiar.
Please, no.
M for Magnus, perhaps. Or McGilded, possibly. Take your pick. It seems this particular big name in London made a magnificent mistake.
Objection!
But there are M's everywhere. Yes, like in Mason.
Objection!
Ooh, that looked fancy.
This blade is far too extravagant for a poor brickmaker to have owned. No, this weapon of murder almost certainly belongs to the accused. Not conclusive, but certainly compelling, counsel.
My lord, if you'll forgive the interruption.
Juror number 2, go on.
Mr. McGilded is a pillar of society and a government, and a gentleman's word should be sacrosanct. However, those of us in service know that we must accept hard truths. Wait, what are you about to do? Dispose of the rubbish. Do it now. Like I said, we're gonna have to convince them back. No! I don't wish to cause offence, but I do like to eradicate all traces of filth and grime. I have painstakingly typed every word uttered here today and cross-referenced all the facts. As such, I am now in a position to draw the only logical conclusion. Not again. That's 4 out of the 6 members who proposed a guilty verdict. There's only 2 left. We've had it. Every time I press these witnesses for more information, I just make the situation worse. Nevertheless, what we need more than anything at this moment is more information. We're still very much in the dark. I suppose I'll just have to keep pressing the witnesses, knowing that more sparks may well fly. We mustn't give up. Mustn't give up hope. It will uncover something that will give us a way to fight back. But... alright. I'll keep trying. Can't give up. Just need to keep calm and listen to the witnesses' statements again. Alright, so when it happened, the only 2 people in the enclosed cabin area were the victim and the defendant. And, so help me, 3 whole people witnesses the man I'm trying to defend did the deed. I don't like to be pessimistic, but we do seem to be in a rather difficult situation here. What am I supposed to think here? Is Mr. McGilded really innocent, or could it be... Before we jump to conclusions, our first task should be to gather information. We need to understand the case much better than we do at this moment. You're absolutely right. Let's listen to those witness statements again a little more carefully this time.
Hold it!
Just press this last statement. What exactly did you see? Well, it was the passengers said yesterday collapsed on the floor he was. And by the passenger, obviously, you are referring to the victim, Mr. Mason, the brickmaker. And then the other passengers had the knife in his hand like this. By the other passenger, obviously you are referring to the accused, Mr. Magnus McGilded. Then they plunged it down like this, stabbing the other passenger in the belly. Lord, I wish to speak. Yes, you're number 5. Do I take it that you too, as a master of the London Guild of Coachmen, the idea of murder brings committed in one of the city's carriages is utterly abhorrent to me. It wouldn't be right to make a decision before hearing all the facts, though, I said to myself. But I've heard enough for now. The horse is bolted, as they say. No, please, just keep it up. Gee up now, Silver Blaze. Finish is in sight. I really don't want this little old lady to betray me. Beppo is a long-standing member of the guild. I trust what the man says. Oh, thank you, you're too kind, sir. This is a test too unkind, sir. Which now means that 5 jurors agree to condemn this man.
Madam Juror number 6.
Yes, dear. What can I do for you?
You have heard the testimonies of the witnesses in the stand.
Oh, yes, I certainly have. Still got my hearing, you know.
Then pray tell, why are you yet to pronounce your leaning?
Well, dear, the thing is, I'm a creature of habit, me. I always go to the park at around this time of day and sit on a nice bench and get on with my knitting. There's a lovely little park just near where I live. McGilded Park, it's called. Gentlemen donate it to the city, you know. It put a smile on Londoners' faces, he said. I can't imagine such a fine young gentleman. Oh, have it in him to take another man's life.
That's right, a man like that won't stab someone, surely. How many Londoners live with a head in the clouds? Do you people not know? What kind of man Magnus McGilded really is?
What kind of man he is?
The philanthropic Magnus McGilded has enough wealth to purchase the entire city he claims to value so highly. But where did all that wealth come from? Your client is a Shylock, sir, and one with a very darkest of souls.
What?
Stone the crows! McGilded lends money at extortionate rates of interest, so his victims have no hope of repaying him. When they default, he takes possession of everything they own. He is a vulture that preys on the weak.
I've never heard such a thing like that before in my life.
Your faculties haven't deserted you yet.
Faculties?
Your faculties haven't deserted you yet, I'm sure, madam. So has this thought not crossed your mind? Would a man wealthy enough to buy London in its entirety not have a carriage of his own?
No, he's just stingy. But then he did donate stuff. It's an act.
What possible reason could this man have had to make so much money? What possible reason could this man have had to make use of a public omnibus service?
Oh. You're not saying that.
The victim, or brickmaker, had next to nothing to his name, save considerable financial liability. It will come as no surprise that his creditor was the accused, Agnes Smith. But let it also be known that the very day Mr. Mason was killed was the final repayment date for his debts. Good gracious! The brickmaker was destitute. He had lost his house, he had not a shilling with which to repay his debts. And in the end, his pitiful soul had the very last thing he owned taken away from him. His life. By the merciless philanthropic pretender, Magnus McGilded.
I don't believe it. I add something briefly? Miss Suzuto? You claim that the victim had been lent money by Mr. McGilden. But where is the evidence to support that claim? Here he is, he's cracking out his blood with his Grim Reaper on the bottle.
Pray forgive the discourtesy of filling my hollowed chalice in a court of law. Ah, there it is! Lord Van Zyke's hollowed chalice.
How can this be considered acceptable?
But I find myself in unexpectedly good humor. I had heard ladies from the Far East could show great courage, but I didn't expect to experience it myself.
As a judicial assistant, to the defense, I am simply doing my job.
What a pity that your display of courage is vain. This is the debtor's ledger, which details all monies loaned by the accused. You will find the victim's name clearly recorded inside.
Oh.
Allow me to present this ledger as evidence. And pray forgive the discourtesy of raising my chalice in a toast to the enigmatic East at the same time. A marvelous toast, Counsel. I will gladly accept this new evidence. Ah yes, 20 guinea. The victim owed a considerable sum, and the accused made quite certain he had ample recompense.
Oh, it would seem I have had the wool pulled over my eyes.
Regrettably, madam, that is the modus operandi of the accused.
And it's such a pretty little park, too. What a scoundrel! Still, maybe it's all for the best. Wait a minute. Let us think a little bit more. I do not stand for nonsense. Are we lost? That was it. The last juror's decision. According to this Encyclopedia of British Law, when all members of the jury have concluded that the defendant is guilty, court proceedings are suspended and the presiding judge will deliver the final verdict and sentence. That's what it says here. The final verdict. It's over then. Oh! There's a footnote though. Footnote? What the defense?
All 6 members of the jury are now in agreement to this case.
Let me have what I need.
Allow me to convey my respect for your swift and righteous decision. According to the laws of this country, I will now conclude this trial by delivering my final verdict. I trust there are no objections.
Miss Suzuto, just tell me one thing. Oh, yes? You were in the middle of saying something before the footnote in your Encyclopedia of British Law. However, the defense? What do they say next? Oh, yes, of course. One moment. This is going to be our ace in the hole, and it's going to get us out of this. When all members of the jury concluded that defendant guilty, court proceedings are suspended and the presiding judge will deliver his final verdict and sentence. Then the footnote says, however, the defense has the right to demand a summation examination of the jurors at this point. A summation examination?
Objection!
A summation examination. From which century has that tome you have there been resurrected? Judging from the binding, I would say that book is at least 50 years old. Any modern text on British law wouldn't even give such an antiquated procedure a mention. It's a relic, long forgotten, and certainly no longer practiced. So you're out of luck.
Oh. What even is it, a Susita? A so-called summation examination? Oh, one moment. I will read about it.
You would demand the right to a procedure before you even understand what it entails. Typical Neopanese.
Alright, Mr. Naruhodo. I think I understand. It seems that under this procedure, we would be able to appeal to the members of the jury. To do what, exactly? Appeal to them to change their leaning and reverse the decisions. And it says here that if successful, the proceedings of the trial must be resumed. Make them reverse their decision.
Yes, in times gone by, barristers would use a summation examination to attempt to influence the jury's decision. But that procedure became something of formality with no practical benefit, really. So it rather fell out of use.
I wonder why.
Because it was devoid of purpose. Changing just one member of the jury's mind would be hard enough, let alone several. No self-respecting defense barrister would even assert his right to try in this day and age.
Still, I don't see any mention of procedure actually being formally revoked.
What are you suggesting?
I'm suggesting that although it may be antiquated and largely forgotten, it isn't yet extinct. What do you think, Mr. Naruhodo? Is that is summation examination? Well, last possible option. Do we assert our right to carry it on? Or do we admit defeat? No, we assert our right. Of course we do. The defense wishes to assert its right to a summation examination, my lord.
Objection!
London is the capital of the most powerful nation. We have a duty to the world to exemplify the very highest standards of jurisdiction. Summation examinations are an embarrassment that should remain buried.
Objection!
But if it's our right, it's our right. I believe it could prove vital in this trial.
The defense petition is perfectly valid. The court will proceed with the summation examination. This is madness. Orman, are you and the remainder of the jury ready? I'm not, there was no mention of this in the letter I received, you see, so, all members of the jury will be asked to explain on what grounds they have reached their decision. On what grounds? You must all justify your decision and explain why you believe the defendant to be guilty. Well, my lord, you're rather putting us on the spot.
This is most irregular. No mention was made of this before.
I don't really hold with all this justifying mark.
That seems to have thrown the jurors off. It seems none of them have experienced this before. Alright then, the summation examination. A defense procedure no practicing lawyer has attempted for years it is. Well, just maybe. It might be the opportunity we've been looking for. Turn this trial around.
So be it then. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the court hereby calls upon you to state the grounds on which you find the defendant Magnus McGilded guilty of this most serious crime.
Judicial hearing.
There was no one else inside the carriage at the time. It has to have been him.
I trust the driver. He has excellent memory. It seems. 4 passengers, with fares totaling 20 pence.
He stuck the chap next to him just like this. Brazen, I must say. Absolutely brazen.
I have simply typed and collated all the statements made just far, and drawn the logical conclusion.
You can trust the guild. Fair fares is our motto. We haven't raised prices above 4 pence for years.
The scoundrel stabbing that poor man on the floor. It's beggar's belief. We're getting there. I'm starting to wish I hadn't pushed for this now. Some of the jurors don't seem to have windily formed arguments though, do they? Well, let's see what we can do then. We need to get C6 people to change their mind. I have to throw everything I can at them and use some very persuasive language. Just a moment, Mr. Naruhodo. According to my book, that's not quite how this works. Oh? I thought I was going to have to thaw their icy minds with some heartwarming rhetoric about the defendant. Unfortunately... Once the jurors have decided the defendant is guilty, they're unlikely to heed anything the defense says. But then, they've reached the conclusions by their own reasoning, you see. Your pleas will sound like excuses. In fact, it could recoil on you. The more you try to persuade them, the more entrenched they may become. Then what am I supposed to do? What are you? I'm just citing what I've read about British law, Mr. Naruhodo. Right, I'm sorry. Do you have any idea what will make this work then? Well, from what I can understand, the key to this procedure is using the juror's own words to make your arguments. Ooh. What do you mean? Well, the 6 members of the jury are randomly selected members of the public. They may appear to present an ununited front, but the truth is, they are complete strangers who just happen to find themselves in here in the courtroom together. And that's the way to break them down, you mean? Yes, exactly. We must listen very carefully to what each member of the jury says. And see if we can identify any contradictory statements. If we can, then the contrast statements, and if we then contrast the statements and pit the corresponding jurors against each other. Ooh. I'm just gonna reset myself. No, this way. That's better. I see. So the contradictions in what two or more jurors say, that's what we're looking for? In a way then, this is similar to a regular cross-examination. I suppose you're right? Find contradictions in their statements and pit the jurors against one another to break them down. Alright, I might be able to pull this off. No, that's not right. I have to pull this off. I like your enthusiasm, Ryan Iske.
I would ask that you take the stand for this. I'm expecting a clear and concise rebuttal.
Yes, my lord. Ooh, this is interesting. He has excellent memory. It seems 4 passengers with fares totaling 20 pence. Is that what he said? This portfolio must contain all sorts of secrets about them. You really think we ought to look inside? Well, it's not as though we have any London agendas personally, is it? Apart from our great detective friend, perhaps. Actually, I wonder. I assure you we will not find Mr. Sholm's name inside. Well, let's see what we find then. It's crammed full of gentlemen's names, isn't it? Well, I suppose they're probably not all gentlemen, are they? After all, not everyone in this country is well off. Ah, goodness! What is it? Look at this! Do you see this name here? Bruce Fairplay. Would that mean something to me, or does it sound strangely familiar? Actually, it sounds very familiar. Bruce Fairplay, the witness testifying in this very moment? Oh yeah, of course, the banker. Why is his name in here? He borrowed 20 guinea from him, didn't he? Look, repayment date is fast approaching. It's possible this is just a coincidence, of course, but this could be very useful information. That's why he's so eager. Get him in prison? No, get him hung. The debt's cleared. Alright, but there's still nothing about... Hey, Phoenix Wright. That once the armor my knife whilst journeying on the omnibus died due to internal hemorrhaging resulting from the trauma. Press, there's nothing about that. You stuck the chap next to him just like this. You can trust the guild. Purpose on our motto. If it raised prices above 4 pence for years. Aha!
Objection!
Right there. Those two statements clearly contradict each other.
They do. Explain yourself, Counsel.
Me? Oh dear. What have I said?
I swear on Silverblade's maiden name, I haven't the first idea what you're talking about.
According to the group testimony we've heard so far, there were 4 passengers on the omnibus the night in question, and according to the coachman, Mr. Beepo, took 20 pence in fares. Quite right. I have those precise details typed neatly here in front of me. And juror number 5 also told us the following. The fare for the omnibus is always 4 pence.
That it is. A fair and convenient single price. Just the way London carriages should be operated.
But that doesn't add up at all. In fact, it leaves a glaring discrepancy in facts.
Why, man? Why?
4 passengers paying 4 pence each. If you do the multiplication, it would be 16 pence. Exactly. As I said, it doesn't add up. The figures are different. By 4 pence, in fact. Precisely 1 person's fare.
One person's fare?
Yes. In other words, on the omnibus that night, it was distinctly possible there was another passenger we've heard nothing about.
Good gracious. This can't be right. The coachmen of the guild are good, honest men, one and all. Trustworthiness is our watchword.
The figures your coachman claims most certainly do not add up. Your watchword, good sir, is falsity.
I beg your pardon.
Mr. Guildmaster, I think you ought to consider that if this trial were to end now, the news would surely be spread all over London. The news that one of your coachmen tried to hide the fact he let nefarious characters ride his omnibus.
Alright then. How do I make it so this miserable trial doesn't end,
Well, according to my book here, you simply launch a ball of fire into the innocent side to set the scales.
Oh, Jaros, is there, coachman? We were all in agreement. Why are you gonna go and... Wait till I get my hands on you, beefo. This is all very irritating.
Begging your pardon, sir, I am going to do the same.
For the love of Mike! Not you as well.
A penny can be a difference between a smile and a tear after all. I certainly can't put my trust in someone who doesn't follow my exacting standards in financial matters.
Oh, really?
I, for one, think the only proper thing is we hear from the witnesses again. Well done, Mr. Naruhodo, you did it! If you can manage to change 2 more jurors' minds, we can force the trial to continue. 2 more, actually. There is something else bothering me about a couple of their assertions. And that's where you must strike next. I need to pit 2 more jurors against each other and show there is another contradiction in their assertions. This is pretty cool. I like this. You can do it.
Well, the scales of justice have shifted, but they still weigh heavy on the side of guilt. Counsel, you have the floor again. Continue with your summation examination. Summation, sorry.
I'm changing my leaning to innocent. I should like to hear from what the slipshod bookkeeper has to say for himself. I have simply typed and collected all the statements made this far, and drawn the logical conclusion. Hold on, what's he said?
Paper. Girl's got to continue so I can get to the bottom of this corruption.
Tapping the poor man on the floor. There we go. So I can only pit guilty people against guilty people. I can't pit new innocent statements against them.
Objection!
Those 2 statements are completely contradictory.
Well, explain, counsel, post haste.
Oh dear me, I was only missing a jumper for my other half.
What's all this claptrap? What does contradictory even mean, I ask you?
We've heard from more than one witness. They allegedly saw the actual moment when the defendant stabbed the victim. Now curiosity, juror number 3.
What? Oh, you see, I'm busy here.
How would you say the defendant stabbed the victim? What sort of motion was it?
Want to test me, do you? It was like this. Stuck the fella next to him without even getting up. Like a pin banker, say. Yes, that was Mr. Fairplay's testimony. Quite true.
Now then, juror number 6.
Oh, that's me. Is it? What can I do for you, young man?
How would you say the defendant stabbed the victim, madam?
Oh, well, dear, as far as I understand it. It was like this. And the poor man collapsed on the floor. The coachman said so.
Now don't move. Take a look at these 2 jurors. He stuck the fellow next to him without even getting up. And he stabbed the poor man after he collapsed and fell on the floor.
Well, I never. They're stabbing in totally different directions.
Bless my stitches. Oh, it's adorable. Bless my stitches.
Bless my stitches, what a muddle.
What this tells us is that there is a strong possibility one of the witnesses isn't telling the truth.
Oh, but why? Why the dickens would they lie?
I don't know that yet. But what I do know is that if the trial ends at this point, we may never find out. We may never know the real truth. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, can you really let that happen in all good conscience? Lies, you say? Oh, dearie me. I can't abide people telling lies. They seem very easily swayed, I'm not gonna lie. The scales. I don't believe it.
Wait! Now hear this, me fellow jurors. I warn you, you cannot listen to this man. Look at him in his black suit. He's clearly some devious Eastern sorcerer using his magic on us.
If I could use magic, you really think I'd be putting myself all through this?
Answer me this, Dark Jinx.
Me?
What exactly is the problem? What of it if two witnesses have slightly different recollections of the events?
What of it?
Let's say the Shylock did stab the victim as he was sat next to him on the omnibus. And this young dandy saw him do it. Let's say the victim collapsed on the floor and then the Shylock stabbed him again. And this old lady saw him do it. Well, what's to say it didn't happen like that? Who are you calling dandy, sir? Why, I should take this knife to you. Who are you calling old? Take this needle to you.
They're really ready to kill each other now. But could the foreman and the jury be right? Did the two witnesses see two different moments? That's what the autopsy's for. Stabbed once. No. Unfortunately, Mr. Foreman. What is it, you dark jinx?
Come on, out with it.
What you're suggesting is impossible. It's out of the question.
What? What are you talking about, man? How can you possibly say that? You do realize that I'm only doing my job. As a foreman of the jury, I have the responsibility to steer everyone in the right direction. So where's your evidence, man? That's what I want to see. I say the two witnesses saw two different moments in the same crime. If you say that is out of the question, then show me proof.
It looks like the only way I'm going to be able to convince him is to present something he can't dismiss. Irrefutable, hard evidence. As you wish.
What?
I'll give you the proof. It's out of the question these two witnesses saw two different moments in the same crime, as proven by... Let's see, the picture could be the same. Because he's still sat down.
Take that!
It's gotta be the autopsy, hasn't it? This is the victim's autopsy report. According to what's written here, Mr. Mason was stabbed in the abdomen only once.
Hey, only once?
That's just bad jurying right there. It's quite simple. The victim was stabbed precisely one time, which means the witnesses can't possibly have seen two different times.
Alright, I concede defeat.
Wait, that means 4 jurors are now leading to not guilty. We've done it, Mr. Naruto. We've done...
What are you playing at, you dandy fool? Jet your traps, sir. No one deceives me. But we had a consensus. I said shut your trap. I know a liar when I see one. And if the chap even dares to cross the threshold into my shop, I'll take this razor-sharp blade and shave every last hair off his head.
He's a little bit creepy. Please tell me he's a barber.
Well, in quite a remarkable turn of events, the defense's summation examination has flipped the balance of the scales of justice. Jurors now stand at 2 for guilty, 4 for not guilty. Accordingly, there is no longer a large enough majority among the jury for me to adjudicate. The trial must continue.
Look at him still licking his knife.
I hereby ask the defense, prosecution, and witness to return to their places. And I call upon all of you to continue to pursue the truth. So, Lord Van Zeeks, continue to substantiate the case for the prosecution, if you please.
More blood.
Having savoured the rich aroma of the calm contents of this hallowed chalice, it may seem crass to crush it to dust. Please, pray, forgive the discourtesy.
Lord Van Sykes. Is it cold in here? Or is it just me?
As your antiquated tome no doubt states, the prosecution may not speak during the summation examination, so I honoured a deathly silence and listened to the charade. It seems I overestimated the intelligence of the jury. Well, no matter. There was nothing so hard to prove as a self-evident truth, it would seem. No. And why else would we grace the courtroom with our presence after all? So, let us proceed to the next round of battle. Bring forth the witness once more.
Ooh. He's really bringing out all the stops now. He's got rid of his clock.
Witnesses! I trust you have heard the summation examination we have just had to endure.
Yes, sir. That I did, sir.
Of course, I heard it.
Oh, yes, sir. I heard it.
You, sir. On the end, the coachman, I believe it's Beppo.
Yes, sir, my lord, sir.
If it transpires that in your previous testimony you were attempting to veil the presence of a fifth passenger on your omnibus, you will be found guilty of perjury. You are advised to bear that in mind, sir.
Oh, mio Dio. Okay. Mio Dio. That's definitely not Old Britain. Now then,
witnesses, I hereby call upon you to testify before the court. Again, you will explain the various misgivings brought to our attention by the defense summation examination.
get ready for this one. It's gonna be crazy.
I only carried 4 passengers. And I swear it.
But,
Well, I, for one, was told I had to pay 5 pence for the bus.
you fiddled us on the fare. He did. And then I saw that blood-curdling sight as well. It was all too much.
I tell you, I saw McGilded stabbing that man. Everything I said before stands.
Oh, yes, he stabbed him. Yes, he did. I think so, yes. This is going great. Counsel,
Make sense of this for me, please. Phantom fifth passenger conjured in existence by my learned English friend never existed. Confusion has arisen from the coachman's sly little cozenage. Beppo, explain yourself.
I'm terribly sorry, Guildmasters.
The guild's fare is 4 pence across the board. You know that. Am I to understand that you've been overcharging our passengers by a penny a fare?
It's so cold, and the last one of the day is always half empty.
You have been dishonest, coachman.
I'm sorry.
You're a disgrace, Beppo. A disgrace. Your selfish actions have brought dishonor on the entire guild.
If I may, sir, I had to pay 10 pence on the bus last week.
What?
It's going pretty well. At least we got back into it. Which, I had no doubt we would. We wouldn't end it right there. 4 passengers at 5 pence each is, yes, 20 pence. I've done the arithmetic 10 times already, but I can't make the result come out any differently. No, that figures. That figures. Yeah, because it sounds like figures.
Well, it would appear that one of the aforementioned misgivings has already been explained. So, counsel for the defence, your cross-examination, if you please. We've already had the pleasure of a protracted summation examination today. I see you intend to continue the parlour games.
Absolutely. I love how he wasn't confident with that one either. Okay.
Hold it!
So, there were only 4 passengers in your carriage, but you didn't charge them the standard 4 pence fare. Is that right? It's possible to make the last run of the day. Hey, it was so cold. It was all I could do to stop myself passing out. I'm getting chilblains just listening to you. It was terrible. So I wanted to give myself a pat on the back for even keeping the bus running. Doesn't the dedicated coachman deserve an extra penny passenger? You're digging a deeper hole for yourself here. If only there had been a fifth passenger on the omnibus that night, then we would have another suspect.
Hold it!
Does that mean everyone on board that night paid 5 pence instead of 4? Well, I paid 5 pence, sir, too, sir.
And I just told you that I did.
A flat fare of 5 pence across the board. It's not something to be proud of.
So-called discrepancy my learned friend identified was nothing of the sort. Much like the phantom killer you're so desperately needed. Gone. Dead. Buried.
I'd have been happy if it had ever existed in the first place. He failed his own affair, he did. And then I saw that blood-curdling sight as well. It's all too much.
Hold it!
This blood-curdling sight, you mean the murder, I presume? Yes, sir.
Loathsome sight. One should have to witness the horror of the eyes of a man the moment his life is taken.
Oh, well, not exactly, sir. I mean, I didn't actually see the exact moment the gent was stabbed. I'm doing the wrong voice. I didn't actually see the moment the exact gent was stabbed.
Good gracious, really? We have another witness who did, however. Banker has already testified to it.
But Mr. First didn't actually see the point at which the victim was killed. That may turn out to be very significant. I heard the banker gent next to me take a sharp intake of breath, see? That's when I turned and looked through the glass. That's when I saw the horrible blade poking out from his belly, all covered in blood. Every time I see a knife now, I end up screaming, even when I'm eating.
Hold it!
So, you saw the defendant, Mr. McGilded, stabbing the victim, Mr. Mason, who was sitting next to him?
That's what I said, isn't it?
It was bothering me before this was. For just a brief moment, he hesitated before answering the question.
Anyway, there was only 2 of them inside the carriage, weren't there? There has been much talk of a 5th passenger, but as of yet, 0 evidence. Then what are we wasting all this time for, eh? It's black and white, the man's guilty.
Something about Mr. Fairplay's testimony just jars with me. I wish I could work out what it is. Not long ago, this trial nearly came to an end. Somehow, we managed to keep the chances alive here. I can't waste this cross-examination. I have to use it to bring some new facts to light. If you're not careful when you press these witnesses, the danger is the jury will end up believing something unhelpful as they did before. We can't let the fear of that happening stop us from uncovering important information. Yes, you're so right. I need to pay careful attention here. I don't want to miss even a flicker of a reaction among the witnesses. If you notice and you spot one of the witnesses in a strange way, don't hesitate to pursue them as the reason. Okay. Because I know what I'm going to end up having to present. It's going to be the ledger. Let's do an examination on this. Let's open the door and go inside, shall we? The scene of the murder? It's horrible. This seat looks reasonably soft. It's actually rather hard when you sit on it. Only just wide enough for two gentlemen to sit side by side, really. Of course, an English gentlewoman would be dressed in such finery. It would be quite impossible for her to climb up onto the roof deck, so she would have to be seated in here. A woman in a kimono would have the same problem. Women's clothes are very impractical, aren't they? Hey, be very careful. That's blood that soaked into the sea. The victims, obviously. Yes. And the sea would be clearly visible from the roof deck. Would you really stab someone in full view of the other passengers like that, I wonder? Well, it was after dark. And there was a lamp on here, so perhaps the couldn't see anything outside through the skylight? Whichever way you look at it, it doesn't seem like it was a planned attack. It's quite a large skylight, isn't it? Quite large enough to afford a good view of the cabin from the roof deck. It doesn't appear to be a handle or a catch of any description. I suppose it can't be opened from inside the cabin at least. There doesn't seem to be anything. Have you seen enough? Step outside? Let's do that. Because there doesn't seem to be anything super wrong. This is the roof deck of the omnibus. Let's have a wonderful view of London streets up here. So people sit all the way up here on bitter winter nights with the cold air rushing past them. And they have to pay money to do so. I can't imagine how cold it must feel. That just made me think of something horrible. Can you imagine being dragged around the city in the freezing cold as punishment? Perhaps that is the real price you pay to stay out late. That's not the conversation I was hoping they'd have. So this is the roof deck of the omnibus. Oh, they didn't say the same thing. I thought they were going to mention how one bench is like facing forward. So your banker friend would be here and then the other guy would be here. Or vice versa. So only one would have actually seen something going on in the cabin, which makes sense because it's that way around. Press the statement again. Because none of the other ones are reacting, is the thing.
Hold it!
Earlier, you testified you saw the moment when the defendant allegedly stabbed the victim, didn't you? Oh yes, that's right. You said that the victim was on the floor and described the assailant holding a knife in an ice pick grip. I suppose, yes, before the horse, maybe?
What is this?
Well, I'm quite sure about most of it. I was driving the horses when the scream from the seats on the roof deck. I expect that was me, sir. And when we turn around, yes, I saw it for the skylight. The gentleman was on the floor, and the knife was sticking up out of his midriff. That's right, yes. The fellow holding the handle, the famous man, yes. So in short, you didn't see the moment when the victim was actually stabbed at all. I really thought I did, but when I got over it in my head, no, I suppose I didn't see the precise moment of the stabbing, did I?
Excuse me!
Excuse me. You have something to say about that, Mr. Fairplay?
Now you listen to me. I know what you're thinking. And you didn't really see the exact moment the fellow was stabbed. What are the chances of that? Eh?
Are you asking me or telling me? He's getting flustered. I'll be able to extract some new information from him if I answer him cleverly. Could he just have the exact moment the crime was committed? No. Well, it's a little hard to believe, certainly. Unless you spend your time peeping for a skylight. Top of the omnibus, that is.
Peeping! I'm a respectable city banker. I'll have you know. And I know what I saw. I remember it clear as the Ballarat day. It was a grim scene. I don't mind telling you. Thank you, Mr. Fairplay. Oh, excuse me, I was getting on the collar there, my lord.
I would ask you to supplement your testimony with a clear statement of what exactly you saw.
Oh, I can do that alright. I'll tell you just how grim it was. See?
We're making some progress.
You'd think I'd forgotten the sight of them blood-soaked hands after the butcherman stabbed him.
But was it? That's the question. Blood-soaked hands? Well, not really. There's a little bit.
Objection!
Blood-soaked hands.
Well, I'd admit that soap might be laying it on a little thick, but anyway, there's definitely blood all over him. Both of them were covered in it.
Oh, I'm very sorry to disagree, Mr. Fairplay, but that's a little more than peculiar.
What?
Here are the gloves worn by the defendant, Mr. McGilded, on the night in question.
Ah, yeah, right.
And there certainly does appear to be a sizable dark coloured stain there. But, as I'm sure you can clearly see, it's only on the right hand glove. In short, Mr. Fairplay, your testimony is inconsistent. Out of everyone's testimony, it was going to be the banker.
But no, that can't be right.
So you're the liar then?
That's right. You were quite clear about it. You said it was both hands.
Mr. Fairplay, your last statement, if your last statement was a lie, it calls your entire testimony into question. You say you saw the moment the victim was stabbed, but is that really the truth? Well...
Objection!
It was a simple mistake. You can't justify accusing this man of lying. Yes, it wasn't both hands, it was only one. But the fact remains. The victim's blood was on the accused.
Objection!
No, Mr. Fairplay categorically stated that he saw blood over both hands. Which means there's a strong possibility that this witness was deliberately trying to mislead the court.
I am a city banker, for pity's sake. My word should be the gold standard. I am a gentleman, not some gutter snipe. Upstanding members of society do not provocate.
He's claiming to have no reason to lie. But is that really the case? We had some evidence to explain why Mr. Fairplay might be lying. We could turn a tide on this trial completely. Something to show this man has a compelling reason to lie in his testimony. Oh yeah, we have the evidence. My lord.
Yes, counsel.
The defense is ready to present its evidence.
By Jove, are you sure?
Yes, evidence that will clearly demonstrate why Mr. Fairplay had a reason to lie in his testimony.
Very well. I hereby call on the defense to present its evidence. The evidence that will demonstrate a motive for the witness's alleged deception of the court.
Right
Take
here.
that!
This one, yours and money. This is a list of debtors who owe money to Mr. McGilded.
Yes, a list of innocent victims crippled by the accused's extortion.
The point is, among the names and debtors is your name, Mr. Bruce Fairplay.
What? Mr. Fairplay, are you currently indebted financially to the accused? No, well, it's barely worth being called a debt.
According to this ledger, you owe 20 guinea. Not an inconsiderable sum of money, would you say?
Well, what of it?
Let's suppose Mr. McGilded were to be found guilty of murder. What would become of your debt in that case?
These documents state that the loan agreement is forged between two individual parties. Therefore, for the creditor, the defendant here, to be sentenced to capital punishment, all outstanding debts which were owed to him would be annulled and they would cease to exist.
To exist? I call this Mr. Fairplay. Is it not the case that you claim in your testimony to have seen something you never in fact saw? In a devious attempt to annul your debt of 20 guineas to the defendant.
Order. Mr. Bruce Fairplay.
Yes, my lord.
Let me ask you again, and be aware that your answer may have serious implications on your future, sir. Did you or did you not see the precise moment in time at which the defendant is alleged to have thrust a knife into the victim?
Your silence speaks volumes. You did not tell the truth in your testimony.
Alright, now let's not make a melodrama out of it. Perhaps I did overstate the truth. Pinch.
A pinch.
But it makes no difference. I definitely remember seeing blood on McGill's hands, both of them.
Objection!
And yet, only one of the defendant's gloves, which we have here as evidence, is stained.
So you keep saying.
I wonder if I might be allowed to speak, sir?
Go ahead, Mr. First.
Well, the thing is, I remember seeing it myself as it happened. Being what? The blood, sir, on the assailant's hands. I think, yes, I'm almost sure that it was both of his hands, not just one. What? Considering he does that, that's actually a really considerable distance.
It would appear that we're going to need further testimony from all you witnesses. This time, I'd like to know precisely what you did and what you did not see. Do I make myself perfectly clear?
Gosh. Mr. Naruhodo, this is good news. The course of the trial seems to have slightly shifted at least. Yes. I might finally have a chance to turn things around here. What the witnesses really saw.
There was blood on both arms of the assailant. I sincerely and distinctly remember that. However, I suppose you might say I didn't see the exact moment the stabbing transpired, if that matters.
I remember seeing the knife. And I remember seeing both the attacker's hands with blood on them. I didn't see anything myself, no, until I heard the scream.
Anyway, the fact remains, there cannot be anyone else inside that carriage or we would have seen it.
Okay, it's making sense.
Well, lo and behold, in truth, in fact, not one of you was a witness to the crucial moment of the crime. When the crime was perpetrated, I apologize, my lord, but honestly, there was no one else inside that carriage. And the man's hands are covered in blood. That much incriminating evidence is tantamount to saying what we saw the man do it.
That's really not what testimony's about.
Let us examine the interior of the omnibus once more. The victim's fresh blood is clearly visible on the seat corresponding to the witness's. In other words, there is no substantial nor significant change in the facts of this case. Very well. Your cross-examination, please, counsel.
Yes, my lord. You know it's getting picked up now because we're getting the very quick music. So two of them said there's blood on both hands. I've never seen both attack his hands before.
Hold it!
You definitely saw that too? Blood on both hands? Yes, sir. I mean, I know what you're going to say. Only one of his gloves had sign of blood on them.
That's right.
Thing is, as far as I remember, sir, when I looked down, this guy was sitting there beside the other fellow. I don't believe he was wearing any gloves, sir. He wasn't wearing these gloves? That's correct, sir. But I saw the blood on his bare hands quite clearly. If true. The dark coloured stain on the dark leather gloves wouldn't have been easy to see.
I should point out that the police officer who apprehended the accused in the night in question reported there was no trace of blood on McGilda's gloved hands.
There wasn't blood on his hands.
This is puzzling indeed.
This must be significant somehow. I'm sure of it.
That remains, there can't have been anyone else inside that carriage, or we all would have seen it.
I don't think so. And I've got a good reason why. If we go inside, just let me inside, please. This seat has a handle, it seems. This looks like all sorts of equipment that might be needed to keep the omnibus running. Feeding tubes, tools to repair blankets, horseshoeing tools. So it's a storage compartment for the coachman to keep his things. There doesn't seem to be any space for passengers to store their luggage, that's for sure. Well, I don't imagine it would be very convenient for that purpose anyway. Now, somebody hides in there. They can pop out and kill him while Mr. McGilda is sleeping because of the train. Get blood all over their hands. Hide back in here. Hey, I've solved this case before it even happens. And there's a lamp in the enclosed cabin. I'm sure the witnesses would have been able to see quite clearly. There's nothing else really on that. I'm gonna try it. I think...
Objection!
Ooh. Allow me to confirm one thing, Mr. Fairplay. You were riding this omnibus and witnessed the events in the cabin through the skylight in the... Whoops, wrong button. On the upper deck, is that right?
That's right, yes.
In that case, there is a portion of the cabin interior that would have been out of sight for you.
What?
By golly, really? Obviously, at this stage, we can't say for sure. But the possibility cannot be denied. At the time of the incident, there could have been another passenger enclosed in the enclosed cabin of the omnibus.
Objection!
Enough hypothetical meandering, my Nipponese friend. The prosecution demands that you substantiate your claim. After all, the scene of the crime is here, in the flesh. Very well, I will uphold the prosecutor's demand. You will identify the area on this cross-sectional plan of the omnibus. Where exactly in the omnibus are you suggesting this extra potential passenger could have been situated?
Take that!
Both rows of seats on the roof face the direction of travel, whereas the seats in enclosed cabins face each other, which means the visible part of the cabin which passengers on the roof deck can see through the skylight, as I've drawn here. That's right, my lord. As you can see, the seat opposite the one and the victim and his attacker was sitting at was obscured out of view. In other words, if someone had been sitting on that seat, it's quite possible these witnesses would have been completely unaware of it. I still think I'm correct.
It's quite possible that some phantom was sitting there. You Nipponese have a forbidding habit of obscuring the truth with ambiguity. I concur with the prosecution's rejoinder. In a British court of law, evidence is paramount. I cannot entertain this conjecture, counsel. That is, unless you're able to put a name to this mysterious passenger to whom you allured.
And you, Mr. Naruhodo? I honestly don't know who it could have been. Who could have been in the other seat outside of the rear deck? Well, do I have... Not really, I don't have... I have literally no idea. But as a proud citizen of the Japanese Empire, you will look to this guy and walk on, making sure all sign of tears are gone. Go on. This isn't a case of going on, Miss Suzuto. Alright then. I'll go on. I still think Ryan is guilty. Yeah, he's the one that was hidden. He's the actual one that killed them. The defense would like to put forward a name.
You are a fool. That response was a desperate attempt by a man who has no notion of his own limitations. A toast to hard lessons not yet learned. That does not delay counsel. The defense still to name the passenger in the other seat.
This could be it. This could be the chance I've been waiting for to turn this trial in my favour. On that night, on the night of the murder, the person occupying the seat in the omnibus, in the cabin from view. What sort of name am I supposed to put forward? He was driving. These two were on the roof. Unless we proclaim it's suicide.
Take that!
Concealed in the blind spot of the cabin that night was none other than... No. Whatever so-called logic you use to arrive at that conclusion, it matters not, because your answer has made one thing abundantly clear. The real blind spot is inside your head. It would appear to be unusually large. Ooh, that's a sick burn. He really hasn't said anything. It could be done for something court-related matters. We are working on the assumption that he is innocent of this crime. Oh! There you go, they're explaining it right here. It's not... He was asleep, but he was in the blind spot. Ooh. To be fair, the answer I gave was stupid. Magnus McGilder.
Take that!
Passenger in the enclosed cabin that the witness on the roof deck failed to see has to have been Mr. Magnus McGilded. Mr. McGilded?
What are you talking about, counsel? It's the name of the defendant.
Objection!
If I desecrate this chamber by smashing my hallowed chalice, do forgive the discourtesy. Lord Van Sykes. People talk of those tiny island nations in the Far East as having a learning and culture of their own. But I see they use the terms ill-adversely.
What are you trying to say?
Let me explain in terms of even a student of artless backwaters such as yourself may understand. When the bloody scene unfolded, the victim and his assailant were sitting side by side. Multiple witnesses have attested to this fact. It is the very premise on which the case is built.
But that premise may be wrong.
What?
If the victim really was sitting beside Mr. McGilded, it creates an inconsistency that can't be reconciled in any way.
What inconsistency, counsel?
The defendant's gloves, my lord. Both witnesses made the same testimony. They claimed that there was blood on both hands of the person sitting next to the victim.
Objection!
I wonder how many challenges he brings to each court case. Oh, he'll have plenty. He'll have plenty. He'll have like a whole stockpile underneath his little prosecutor's desk. Yet we know the truth. Be otherwise. Only one glove bears his gory remains.
Objection!
The point is, even in the face of irrefutable evidence, both witnesses have maintained their stance.
As the testimonies remain unchanged.
Exactly. They both adamantly swear that they clearly remember seeing blood on both hands of the assailant. In short, their memory of events is correct, and their testimony reveals the truth. It was somebody else sitting beside the victim that night, a third party we have yet to identify. And the victim's blood was on the passenger's hands, both of them.
Objection!
And who was this third party?
Obviously, true culprit.
Extraordinary! Order, order, order! What exactly are you postulating?
Objection!
The defense's postulation is just that, nothing more than conjecture. The witnesses have clearly stated that they saw the accused.
But when elaborating on his testimony, Mr. Fairplay said the two of them were wearing hats, and I couldn't exactly make out their faces.
Yes. The tops of their heads were obscured by a roof. But I could see the rest of them, though.
Yes, that's right. Both gents were certainly hatted. Hatters do tend to notice such things, sir.
And what particular styles of hat did the two gentlemen sport, Mr. First?
I'm afraid I don't remember. And you call yourself a hatter? I'm gonna have to stop very soon if it doesn't give me a save point.
The style of hat makes no difference. There was no third passenger in that cabin.
How can you be sure?
Because if there had been, the accused, Mr. McGilded, would undoubtedly have offered to pose that fact. Unless, that is, you are proposing an even more preposterous explanation. That the accused failed to even notice the presence of the true culprit in the very cabin in which he travelled.
Ooh. Actually, my theory's all gone down the drain right here. If there was another person travelling in the enclosed cabin of the omnibus, it's inconceivable that Mr. McGill would have been unaware of it.
There is clearly a simple solution to this problem.
Bring the accused, Mr. McGilded, to the stand.
What do you say, counsel? The prosecution objects, my lord. On what grounds?
As a suspect, he will have already made a full statement to the police. But what if there is some reason why he's unable to speak freely?
Magnus McGilded is no uneducated ruffian. If it indeed turn out the man has been withholding information, you can be sure it would have been most deliberate act. Counsel for the defense, what is your opinion? My lord.
Can we ask Mr. McGill to testify or not? Well, we need to hear what he has to say in order to find out the truth. The defense would like to call Mr. McGilded to the stand. In that case,
I would like to hear the opinion of the jury. Yes, I need a little more time to consider this.
If you ask me, I think we should hear what Mr. McGilded has to say.
Get the man out of here, I say.
It would be utterly illogical not to hear his testimony.
Yeah. When something he's doing, get it done. That's how I run things at the guild.
Hearing what our Patreon of favorite little park has to say? Yes, that'd be lovely.
Yes. The jury says the man must be heard. Very well. The court will hear the defendant's testimony. Bailiff, show the defendant to the stand at once.
This is where I'm probably going to end now because it's running past midnight. Now, maybe what actually happened that night will finally become clear. Okay, we are going to stop here. Put our serving. Nice. Oh, what a cliffhanger. What a cliffhanger. I still think I'm right. 100% still think I'm right. Oh, wow. Oh, no. No. Oh, well, that's what I get for resetting my position and being too quick on the handle. It's a good ending point. It is a good ending point. He doesn't have a fancy hat. Not yet. Until Herlock Sholmes gets his hands on him. No problem. So I'm going to end now because it is very late for me and I need to wake up in the morning. It has been fun. I would raid somebody, but I really need to just jump off really quick. So thank you very much for joining. I'll be back tomorrow with whatever I manage to pile up in the meantime. But I will always try and make it meaningful. I wish you all a wonderful rest of your day, and I hope you have pleasant dreams. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Bye.